Most of you wake up and you try to make money. Listen to me. If you would make you, money would come to you. Okay, you missed that whole thing I just said. If you would make you a better person, you'd make more money. Now, watch what I do. The way people spend their money or treat their money is how I treat my time. All right, let me explain what I mean to you. I make sure that every single day in that 24-hour period that I'm getting a whole bunch of wins. So I'm supposed to be doing this at this time, doing this at this time, doing this at this time, doing this at this time. The problem with most of you waking up and you worshiping money. Man, I was in the back with Cole. Cole was like, E, I got this opportunity for you. I got this opportunity. I got this opportunity. When you become number one, you have to chase opportunities. So I became number one, not meaning I'm better than nobody else. It means I just mastered my craft to the point that I know what I do that don't nobody else do. I know that I have a way of doing in this industry what nobody else does, and I picked out in this industry, I crafted out my own room. And your problem is you at 50% knocking on doors trying to get the result, somebody at 100%. And you wondering why it ain't working. Because while you're doing what they're doing, you're not, they are. So why do I put more emphasis on time than I put on money? Because they print money. They don't print time. So I'm gonna say it one more time. You are worshiping the thing that they make every day. They don't make time every day. Ain't nobody print time. I ain't met them yet. I ain't met no billionaire. I ain't met no trillionaire. I ain't met no institution. I ain't met no company. I ain't met nobody print money. So why are you spending more time on the thing they print every day than the thing, you know why? Because you're not developing and you following other people. When you understand that the real thing is time and you ain't got a lot of it, you start focusing on your time. And when you get your time right, money will come. Some people go to Dubai once every 10 years. I'm going every other month. Why? When you master yourself, you put yourself in a position that a lot of people can't do what you do, and then you become rare. And diamonds are rare. That's why they cost so much. If you would become rare, you just like everybody else. You look just like you act just like you, just like everybody else. When you become you and you become rare, you become when you leave this room, you will take full ownership. And the reason why I say it's my fault, even when it's not my fault, because when I say it's your fault, I give you power. I give you control over my life. And I will never give another human control over my life. It's my fault. It's my problem. I'm coming up with the solution for it. Stop being average. Average people can't forgive. Average people can't let go. The greats, we do whatever it takes.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Listen, I wanted to play that to kind of get us motivated. I know a lot of people from the Detailers Group, Orlando Detailers. We have some people from I3 Mastermind that we're part of, all going to be watching this on the playback. So as you're coming in, listen, we've got a power pack morning for you, or 1 hour, because we're going to be done at noon. But listen, I have Dr. Delroy here, and I also have Lonnie Walker from over in Houston, Texas. He's here, and so they're going to be sharing information with you. But first, we'd like for you to put in the chat when you're coming in, where you're coming in from. We're excited about you being here today. We want to know who you are and where you're from. And when you're watching this back, the information, how to reach all of us, will be in the chat, and it will be listed on this webinar. So have no fear. All the information that you need, everything that you want, will be right there at your fingertips, so you can reach us and we can have good success with getting you where you need to be. I'm so excited that you took out an hour of your Saturday. I know this is a time that everybody's watching football and sports and doing the shopping, but as business owners, as potential business owners, we've got to be strategic with our time and our finances. And this is one of the reasons that I invited Dr. Delroy on this morning. And I'm going to see if I can add him into the stage at this time so he can go first. And Listen, it's going to be awesome. But I put some slides together, and I'm going to see what he wants to use, because he has literally the first 10 minutes to do whatever he like to do. So Delroy, if you could come off of mute, Lonnie, if you guys could come off mute. Delroy, just tell everybody who you are first, and we could do some introductions, and the first 10, 12 minutes is yours. And I put together some slides about CPI, the yield curve, some things like that. While you're talking about it, I can share those. But can you just tell us first who you are and just a little bit of your background?
Yeah. So Anthony, first off, man, really appreciate the honor to just share this time with you. Very grateful for you and Cherie and the family, and just love doing life with you. Really, really proud of what you're doing, and just the knowledge you're imparting, just into business leaders as a whole, right? So I just want to honor you guys first, because that's how I roll. As Anthony said, I'm Del. I go by Del or Delroy. That's my government name. About 27 years under my belt as a business professional. I've worked in every industry known globally, right? And I've actually worked in every function in the business. So everything. I started my career as an aircraft technician, so working with my hands for a living, fixing planes for a living. I actually lived in Atlanta fixing Delta planes. So if any of you flying Delta planes, more than likely about 27 years ago, I was actually fixing it. But now, so I've made it into the executive realm of business, and now I'm the head of integrations for my company. And if you think what is integrations, when companies go buy other companies, mergers or acquisitions, I'm responsible for the assessment, what we call the due diligence prior to the purchase, and I'm responsible for integrating the companies to gain as much synergies as possible. So everything that I do, plus I'm also responsible for enterprise strategy. I get paid to think for a living, and for me, I could stay in my head on my own. So it's almost like I'm robbing the company, getting paid to do what I love to do, right? So,
wow.
We could talk about that another day, because most professionals don't realize that's a job. You get paid just to think. One of the things that I do as part of my job is I look at the market. Right, I have to look at the market, because as I build a strategy for our companies, and it's a responsibility I've had across multiple companies. You have to look at all the different microeconomic and industry competitive factors, customer factors, in order to determine how best to establish profitability for your company. And as a business owner, whether you're starting, whether you're small and medium sized, doesn't matter. These rules apply to everyone. So a couple of things. When Anthony and I were talking about his particular business, I think Anthony was a year and a half ago, we started talking, and I introduced you to a certain perspective and a paradigm for your business, and I appreciate you asking me to share it with this audience. So a couple of things that each business owner needs to really focus on. It's what are the macroeconomic factors that really influence your profitability, right? And I don't have any, because I do this so regularly. I could speak to just ad lib, and the reason I say that is because as an owner, or if you're running a department in your company, you're just dealing with the day-to-day grind. So it's naturally like, man, and we're busy today at 12 o'clock. Everybody's coming in. Like, how do we get the customers taken care of? Or at the end of the month, when you do the books, you're like, okay, we're not necessarily making money, or our margins are super thin. Here's why. Okay. There's a couple key indexes or indices that I recommend that everyone pay attention to. One is the three, and I lump them into three key metrics, right? One, the first three I would say is what I call the GDP, gross domestic product, CPI, consumer price index, which is AKA inflation, and the unemployment rate, right? And the reason I say that, those, when you're thinking about your company, you need to pay attention to those three bundled together. Why do I say that? Is because those are the three metrics that measure the status of any country's economy. So, we're heading into an election year, and if you're not careful, you'll get wrapped around the axle and focus on things that politicians want you to focus on. It's like going to Vegas and playing 3-card Monte, right? It's like the guy who's running the game is always going to say, watch my hands while I move the cards, and then tell me where the ball is, which card is your ace, so which cup has the ball. But the three metrics you need to focus on is the consumer price index, right? Which consumer price index is the official term for inflation. And you have the GDP, right? The gross domestic product, the value of goods and services produced within a country. And then you have the unemployment rate. And why do those three matter? Because when you look at where the US economy is at, spending is still high, but yet the interest rate is going up and unemployment is at an all-time low. So what that tells you as a business owner is people still have money to spend, the ones who are more well off, and the ones who are not well off, they're living on credit, which because of that spending, the Federal Reserve is going to continue to raise interest rates, which drives the consumer price index. Well, what does that mean? The average person's salary they're not getting a bonus or a promotion to cover the price of inflation. So that means they're compromising on what they're spending. So if I own a car wash, and my salary didn't go up, but interest rates is at 5-7%, depending on the different cases, then one of the things I have to consider is, do I get a car wash every week, or do I kind of squeeze it for 2 weeks? Which means if I own a car wash, my customer base, I may still have the same customers, but the throughput of where they, what they're coming, or how they come into my car wash will be less frequent. So I have to make up the difference in that lost revenue. And as a business owner, I may not necessarily notice that if I'm not paying attention to these metrics, because I may just say, hey, I hadn't seen you in 2 weeks. What's going on? Right. And if you got 100 customers and all 100 is adjusting their schedules that way, your revenue stream and your input, your cash flow now gets impacted. Okay. So that's, the first area is the bundle of those three metrics. And the reason I put unemployment rate in there is because unemployment rate is low. So what the government does is, because unemployment rate is low, and you look at the jobs report, which came out last week, and the US added in the month of September 337,000 jobs. People are shifting jobs all the time. What does that mean to you as a business owner, whether you're a small business, startup, or a young company? Is people will jump ship for 25 cents an hour because they have options, right? So for those of you who are trying to grow your business and grow your install base, I'm sure one of the challenges you're facing, if not from the beginning of COVID to now, is the attrition and the turnover, right? People decide they're not showing up, or they're working, they're not giving 100%. Why? Because they got a side hustle in another job because they're trying to make money, because jobs are available, right? So that's the first bucket of items that you should pay attention to. So, GDP, unemployment rate, and the CPI. So Anthony had put up there the CPI index. Okay. And again, the CPI, it's the rate, the consumer price index, right? So it's the rate at which consumer products are increasing year over year, month over month. And that, again, the loose term for that is inflation. The second bucket, or the second category of items that we need to pay attention to as a business owner, is the yield curve, right? And there are two yield curves you need to pay attention to, right? So I know you didn't sign up for a finance class, and on a Saturday morning. However, this is extremely important. And before I speak on the yield curve, my disclaimer is, much of what I'm saying may be forward-looking statements. I am not a investment professional, so my advice is more general and not intended for you to make investment on, right? So if the SEC is listening, I don't do good with white collar crime, right? So that's my disclaimer, okay? But the yield curve is a measure that you have to look at, and there's two yield curves. I'll tell you those two in just a second. But the yield curve is basically the rate of return on a yield for securities that the government invests in. So when the government has debt, they purchase treasury bonds to cover or securitize the debt that they have. And the treasury bond has a certain return yield, if you will, that is expected. The yield curve is also a measure of how the economy is doing, and it can be an indicator for upcoming recession, right? So this whole thing that's happening with inflation and everybody's yelling, blah, 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 and depending on your stance politically, the natural and the naive tendency is to blame the president. Right? But it's not really the president because Capitol Hill run the country, and there's so many, the U.S. being a mixed economy where the private sector actually dictates the amount of spending that happens, right? So the yield curve is critical, and there's two yield curves. There's the 10-year yield curve and the 2-year yield curve. And the 10-year yield curve in its basic premise is saying, if I make an investment for 10 years, more than, the premise is there's a hypothesis that, if I invest for the long term, I get more return than if I invest for the short term, right? So the other yield curve is a 2-year yield curve. Now, when it comes to yield curves and treasury bonds, they typically mature in 20 to 30 years. That's why the 10-year yield curve is the proxy for measurement. Whereas the big investors focus on the 2-year yield curve, right? So because it's higher risk, but high returns, because if I get returns in 2 years, I potentially can, put my money in and get it right back out. Now, here's the dicey piece on why does this matter to you? It matters to you as a business owner because, like I said, the yield curve actually indicates the health of the economy and could predict a recession, which over the last 2 years, you've been hearing the words recession because of inflation. We still hadn't really hit that. So a lot of the economists out there calling it a soft landing or a hard landing, right? So it's not a full out recession. Why? Because spending is still up. Why is that the case? Because of the amount of money available from a capital market and the major investors, they're still pouring money into the economy by buying things up like companies, kind of what I do for a living, right? Like it's, so all these acquisitions that are happening and across the company. So if your kids are gamers, Microsoft just bought Activision, and Activision is one of the main gaming software providers. Right? Like you see all these acquisitions happening. What else is happening? Auto dealerships are combining together. So, you look around, housing companies and builders are combining. That type of major sort of spending. I don't think there's a community out there that doesn't have a tremendous amount of building happening, right? So when you see that level of capital being infused, spending, what it does is it raises the price of everything else. That coupled with the government trying to cool spending and say, man, it's too much spending. And if people are spending a lot, then if I own a business, I can increase my price, right? So, last I checked, I go into Publix to buy one thing and $200 later, I'm like, what the heck did I buy, right? So that's kind of the balancing act. And why does that matter to you? Because that's the compromise that people are using to determine whether or not they're going to spend with your company.
And Delroy, can I ask you a quick question real quick? Yeah. I was hoping you were going to hit that. I was trying to stay off screen so you can just flow, and you're doing a great job. I'm so excited. Guys, if you have a question for him, please drop it in the chat. But what happens if, as a business owner, the yield curves and everything are going up and I don't raise my prices?
Yeah, it's a great question, which, to answer that question, I'll pivot into my final main point that rounds that off. So if the yield curves are going up, right, and then I have to look at both curves. I have to look at what my 10-year curve is doing and what my 2-year curve is doing. If my 2-year curve is going up faster than the 10-year curve, it means that there's more focus on a quick return in a shorter period of time, which it spikes the returns in the short term, which means from a government standpoint, they're looking at it and saying, wow, there's too much spending. So as a supplier or as a business, I now have to raise my prices in order to meet that, right? So what companies also need to look at is something called the producer price index. I told you about the consumer price index. You also have to look at the producer price index, which is the increase in price and cost of how much it takes to produce goods. So I'll go back to the car wash example because it's something Anthony and I had talked about. When you look at, if we own a car wash and you look at the price of my supplies, right, my cleaning chemicals, my normal like equipment, even the price of a mop has gone up about 10%, right? So if if I'm not looking at the producer price index and I'm looking at the curve, the 10-year curve flattening versus the 2-year curve increasing, which is what's occurring, right? And there's actually a metric called 10-year to yield curve. That is something that I recommend every business owner really pay attention to, because it will tell you how, what's the lag effect of the impact of that curve impacting how consumers spend and how much you have to pay for the things you need to run your business, right? So, and then what that does now is, as a community of business owners, for example, if Anthony and I have 2 separate car washes, the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we going to price our services and our products based on cost-based pricing, which means, I need to make $5 profit, so I'll charge $15. It costs me 10, so I'll make $5 profit. Or do I create a consortium, which a lot of firms are doing, a lot of industries are doing across all the car washes in my area, and I do market-based pricing, so that regardless of where any consumer goes to try to shave a penny, the price is locked, right? That way we control the market. Now, most people are like, Odell, we can't really do market-based pricing. Look, at the end of the day, we're experiencing it all day, every day. What do I mean by that? The gas companies do it, right? Like, come hurricane time, come summertime, all gas prices go up. If you like to buy those nice Louis bags and Gucci stuff for your family or for your spouse or your partner, I like Louis. I've yet to see Louis go on discount. That's market-based pricing, period. No matter where you go in the world, it's the same price. And it's an opportunity as business owners for you to really determine strategically and collaboratively how to do that.
Wow. We
Anthony?
have a group of over 315 detailers, and I've been trying to bring everybody together to try and do exactly what you're saying. Is there any one tip that you can think of that would help us as a collective body? Because we're mostly here in Central Florida on doing that market-based pricing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I would tell you to do is, based on where everyone is at today, look at what the localized inflation rates are for your region. You could actually go on the government site. You could go on Fred, and you could break down, employment rates by your specific county, right, in your region. That's available out there, and you could look at the CPI for your particular sector, because it's a general CPI, but you could look at it for services, goods, right? You look at your particular CPI. And then what you do is, as a collective group, Anthony, raise your prices collectively to the same base threshold, to not meet in the first tranche, not meet CPI or inflation, but just get right below it. The reason I'm telling you that is a non-negotiable and an understood thing in all companies. Every year, companies that buy services from other companies expect a 3% increase in price, and that's in a healthy market. Here, in this post-COVID era, companies have been increasing their prices 6-7% to meet inflation, because if you're not making a profit on what you sell, one, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're working for free. Two, you more than likely will start shaving services on other things which make your customers unhappy, and you want a customer for life. And then three, you destroy and damage the brand reputation of the entire sector that you're dealing with, right? Which is why people have alternatives. They'll either start washing their cars at home, or they'll just go in the gas station, right, and do that car wash, which we all, as the group know, that's the worst thing for your car, right? So those are some of the things I would recommend that the team does initially.
Okay. Wow. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming in and sharing this information. And I'm glad that we'll be able to share this with the group. And as a group, we've got to bring our prices up. Ever since you introduced me to that information, I have slowly been tracking the CPI, tracking the PPI, and bringing my prices up and bringing my prices up. And people are paying because they understand that, it's the climate that we're in. So, and it's definitely good for someone to hear it from someone that does this for a living. That's not my field. So I'm so excited that you came on to share. And if people need to reach out to you, I know you do consulting too. You can send me your information. I can share it on the back end with anyone that needs it, because you do have can you tell them about your consulting company and how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I do is help small and medium business. As a matter of fact, as soon as I jump off this call, I'm about to jump on another call with a young company to help grow their revenue base. I'm actually bringing them into one of my other firms and getting them an initial contract. But I help companies focus on the best ways to be as efficient as possible to reduce their cost from just an efficiency standpoint, and then create new channels and new markets of revenue growth. And what I typically do, because if you're a young company, I don't usually have standard pricing. I do it based on allowable cost. And what that means is, as a young company or as a small business, you're already compromised with how much you could spend on special services. But I'm sure, as Anthony has shared with you, you pay for what you get. But I'm a bit more flexible, whereas I look to see what your allowable spend is and then work with you on any sort of price or cost transactions, either as part of the profitability or on delayed payments, etc. Right. So I really work with the small business owner. And the reason I do that is because I mentioned one of the initial metrics is gross domestic product. 50%, actually, to be exact, 44% of the United States gross domestic product, GDP, is from small and medium businesses only. They are the
Mm.
lifeblood of the US economy, not the big companies, the small companies, right? So
Wow.
that's the power each of you have with what you're doing in business.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. And if anybody needs to reach you, I will definitely put them in touch with you if they're
Yep.
serious. We only want the serious, not the curious, to reach out to him because his time is so valuable. Listen, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got to go, but once again, thank you. And I will reach back out to you at a later time. God bless you and enjoy your day. Thank you so much, Dale.
Thank you, Anthony. Love you, brother. Take care.
You're welcome. Take care.
Uh,
Well, listen, guys. There you heard it from the expert, from the man himself. Um, if we're not looking during this season to raise our prices and understand that CPI and that PPI, we're doing ourselves a disservice. And I've been talking to a lot of people in the Central Florida area. I've had people reach out to me from Texas, from Atlanta. Everybody's feeling the same thing. Everybody's feeling that pinch, and they don't know why, because your prices. So let's say you price a job at $2,500. You do that job for $2,500, but in today's market, that job should be $3,500. Well, right there, you're losing money. But then the products that you had to buy to do that job have all gone up. And so it's like we're running in quicksand. And so that's why I wanted Dr. Delroy to come on so you could hear about that CPI and that PPI and how important it is. What we're going to do now, because we're halfway through our time, I have one more guest that I want to bring on. And let me see if I can add him to the screen. This is one of my friends, Lonnie Walker. I met him a couple of years ago. Listen, this guy right here, for all of you guys out there that say, hey, I need funding, that I can't get it done because I don't have the monies, this is the gentleman that you need to reach out to. Hold on one second. Let me take that off. And I'm doing all the producing and everything myself. But listen, putting Lonnie's information up there. I want him to come on. For those of you that are out there that are listening and watch this on the playback, out of the 300 people from our detail page, if you need business funding, this is the gentleman that I've been telling you about. This is the guy that can make it happen for you. So we don't want to have that excuse. And this is the reason I did this in October, so we can have the full fourth quarter, October, November, December. When we get to January, listen, if you get with Lonnie, when you get to January, he can have you set up looking really, really nice. And so we want to take these last 3 months of the year, and we want to get in position for what's coming in 2024, whether we need vehicles, whether we need furniture, whether you need to, whatever you're looking to do, get with him. And if it's within his reach, he will make it happen. And at this time, I'm going to bring him. He's got I'll give him 15 minutes, and then I'll close out the last 15 minutes, and we are done. I'm going to cover 3 quick strategies that you have to use in this last quarter. So don't leave. Stay right here with us. But at this time, I'm bringing to the stage Lonnie Walker from Houston, Texas.
Hey, what's up, Anthony? I appreciate you letting me come on here and help your people. So let's get into it. He only gave me 15 minutes. I can talk longer than that. All right. So the name of my company is Lexington Lending Consultants. And what we do is we help small businesses find money or funding for their company. So it's not grants. What we do is we get you 0% interest loans or credit card stacking so you can have money to do whatever you need to do with your business. Now, one of the things that you need to do that'll help you get money is two things. The name of your company could make you not eligible for money. So when you're thinking about what I'm going to call my business, it's very important that you pick a name, because there's certain names that the bank going to automatically deny you, or they're going to give you small amount of money based on your name. So it's very, very important. I'll just give you an example. Lexington Lending Consultants is not a good name if you're trying to get funding, because lending is in the name of my company. So banks are like, hey, are you the competition? Are you lending people money? So that is very important that when you think of a name, don't just come up with something necessarily clever, because just the name of your company will put you in a denial stat. Also, when you set up your company, you want to make sure that you're clear on the name and what you do. Because when you go and you start applying for funding, one of the things they're going to ask you is, what do you do at your company? What is the company? And you don't know everything that you're doing in your company. You don't know that even though you may be doing detailing, that you're a consultant for detailing because you're doing the business. If you go and try to get funding as a consultant, they're going to put you in a different pile if you just say that I'm detailing cars. So all of these things come into play when you're trying to get funding. Now, one of the things that I do, and I know that I can do, is if you come to me and your credit is good, we use your personal credit to leverage that to get you business funding. All the funding that we get for people is going to be attached to your EIN. I'm going to repeat that. We're going to use your personal credit and leverage that to get you business funding that's going to be attached to your EIN.
Lonnie, can I cut in for a second? Now, when you talk about leveraging, can you give them examples of like people that you've gotten funded recently? And I'm going to go back on. But when you talk about leveraging and getting them funded, can you let them know like a timeline? Does it depend on their credit score? And some of the people that you've gotten funded recently, could you possibly share a couple of amounts? You don't have to say names or anything like that.
Okay, cool. Got it. So this is, I'm gonna give you, this is an example I just did in the 30 days. I had a gentleman, his name Freddie. He came to me. He did not have a LLC. He was like, hey man, I want to form an LLC. I want to become an entrepreneur. I got him his LLC and his EIN. I sent it to him. 2 weeks later, he applied for business funding. I applied for business funding for him. I got him $130,000 plus an unlimited business line of credit off his personal credit. All the funding that I got for him is in his business name attached to his EIN and not him personally. So that means if he go and charge $120,000 of the $130,000 that I got him, it will not affect his personal credit at all. I'm going to just let y'all sit in that. So that means today, I set up your LLC and your EIN. Once we get the paperwork in 2 weeks, if your credit is good, I'll be able to get you over $100,000 to start your company, plus an unlimited business line of credit. That was one client. And I did that in a 2-week span.
So, Lonnie, let me ask you a question real quick, because this is such a key element of what we need to really uncover here today. And we might have to go a little bit longer with your portion. But I just told someone recently, let me see if I can add this to the chat. Let me see if you can see it. the Dun and Bradstreet numbers, do they need to have all of this set up before they talk to you for their business credit? Or is that something when you're walking them through the process, you're going to make sure that they have their Dun's number? You're going to make sure that they have things like that already developed? Or how does the process work? Are you helping them develop the business credit, or is that something they have to do on their own?
Well, this is something I'm going to help them accomplish, because remember, everything that I'm doing for them is going to be based on their EIN and their business. Once you create an LLC and an EIN, your DUNS number is created. You just got to go get it. All of my LLCs that I have, I didn't do anything. I didn't pay anybody to create my DUNS number. When you create an LLC, that's already created. If you go reach out to one of the people who help you build your business credit, and you hire them and you tell them the name of your business, they're going to tell you what your number is. You just don't know what it is. But if you have an LLC, you have one.
Wow.
But you're not using it because you're using your personal money to fund your company. And I was watching a video on IG, and it was TD Jakes and Charlemagne the God. And Charlemagne asked him a question, and the question was, why don't entrepreneurs make it? And TD Jakes said there's 2 reasons entrepreneurs don't make it. He said, 1, they're using their own money to fund the business. And when they run out of their personal money, they go bankrupt, the business go bankrupt. And he said the second reason is because typically when you start a business, it's you and your friend or you and your wife, and you never have the resources to scale so that if somebody came to you with 1,000 clients, you're not going to be able to manage them and the business is going to fall apart. So you get a business, it's a good business and you're making a great living. Let's say you're making 100,000 a year in that business, but if it's just you and your wife, you can't scale that to $1 million because you don't even have the people to fund that. He said, so you're going to do 2 things. You're going to use your personal assets, and when your money is gone, the company's going to go away, or you're going to always be just average. So you have to get yourself in a situation where you can scale it, and you're more of an overseer, and you have the employees underneath you so you can scale it. That's how you scale it to millions. And that's why it's important when you start these businesses, you're not starting with your own money, because just think about it. The detailing, you got to get a truck. That could be 20,000. You got to get the supplies. That's another 10,000. So you're 30,000 in the hole out of your own money. It's not that you don't have it. Why would you use that if you could use the bank's money? Most people who are successful in what they're doing, they're not using their own money. They're taking money here, borrowing it from the bank, and then they're using that money. Real estate is a perfect example. Most people aren't going in a $300,000 house and then renovating it with their own money. They're going to get a loan from the bank, putting $300,000 by the house, renovating it, then they're flipping it, paying the bank back and keeping the resources. Your business isn't any different. And so what I do for people is I make sure you have that grace period of 0% interest, 12 to 18 months. So the gentleman I got 130,000, he has a year and a half to make that money back, to pay that money back. And so that's what I do. So, and a lot of people don't understand that. It's very important that when you're trying to get money, I bang my head on the wall trying to figure it out for years. So when I first started my company, we used our personal money. But now I know what needs to be done. That's why, the example I gave, 2 weeks, I got him his LLC, and in 2 weeks, I got him 130,000. Matter of fact, he just bought a truck because he's going into box trucking. He just bought a truck for $42,000 yesterday with his business credit. But it's really, really important that your credit is good. And another service that we provide is we fix your credit. So if you come to me and I talk to you, and let's say your credit's not quite right, let's say it's 620. I wouldn't put you in my process of getting you funding because you're not ready. You need to be 680 or above, and your usage need to be 30% or lower. I know what it's going to take to get you funded. So if you're not there, great. So I had a client, he was 590. In 2 weeks, I had him at 775. All
Wait
he
a
needed
minute.
to
Wait a minute. Say
yeah,
that again. He was what?
590, 2
From a
weeks,
590.
2 weeks, he went to 775. The key was this. His credit score wasn't 590 because of late pays. He was paying stuff on time. His usage was like 95%.
Oh yeah, you gotta
On
get
his
that
personal
utilization
side.
down.
So what I did was I gave him a play so he could get his utilization from 95 to 8%.
Mm.
When that went from 95 to 8%, his credit score in 2 weeks went to 775. I did that actually with quite a few clients. Actually, I did it with myself 2 years ago. My credit score was 620 in 2 weeks. It went from 620 to 775. That's how I know it works. Everything that I'm telling you and I'm coaching y'all on, I've done it. So that's how I know what I know. I know right now, if you have a 680 and your utilization is less than 30%, I can get you approved for $50,000 in the next 30 minutes. I know I can.
Wait. In the next 30 minutes.
In 30 minutes, you call me. If all of that is in line and in order. Matter of fact, you know Jamie. I just ran the play for Jamie yesterday.
Jeff just put in the chat. We have people comment in the chat. Jeff said he has a 765 credit score. And I know him. He's local. He's a business owner. So if he reached out to you with a 7, he says, how much can you get me if I get it to an 800? Does he need to get his score to an 800?
It doesn't have to be an 800. At some point, it don't matter. It's almost like once you're a billionaire, if you got 1 billion or 10, you're a billionaire. But the thing that I want to make sure is this is what I have 3 plays that I run off the top. So I have 3 plays. It's going to be boom, boom, boom. If the 3 get approved, I know I'm going to get you 100,000. I know it for a fact because I know how all of it works. But that's the key. So I try to help people if they're not eligible. And this is one of the things that I really tell people, just be honest. If you be honest, I can fix your credit within 30 days, and then you'll be able to get all the funding you need.
Lisa Tucker says, how can we reach you? His number is on the screen scrolling. If you're driving and you can't see, it's 832-350-9477. And I'll have all the information posted at the end, guys. Sorry about that, Lonnie, but people are driving, and I know some people are at the gym and they're working and listening, but you got the attention now.
I'm going to be transparent. So if you have a bankruptcy on your credit, you're not going to be eligible. I want you to think of it like this. If you have things on your credit that your own mama won't loan you anything, the banks won't either. But we can clean that up. But that's the other process. That's why I do both. I do the business funding and the credit repair. Because if you're not ready, then I can get you eligible. And I know how to do it if you follow the instructions. I know we done went off script. I had a whole script plan. But anyway.
I know. People are hitting me in the chat. Sheila Curry Bryant, she says, are you referring to credit worthiness? Are you referring to the credit worthiness of the business versus personal credit history? No.
So what I'm doing is I can do both. But most people that I've been dealing with, they have new LLCs. So they don't have a lot of history with the business. So just like I told you, the gentleman that he just opened like 4 weeks ago, he got his LLC. Well, the business didn't exist till 2 weeks ago. So you can't count on that. Other people who have companies that's been up, then of course we'll be able to use your personal, your revenue from the company, bank statements and things of that nature, and that will help. But what I'm telling you specifically is that if you don't have any business history, don't let that discourage you. We know how to get you funded, whether you have business history or not. But that's why we're using your personal, because most people, they have personal. You're going to have personal credit cards, car loans, mortgage. And usually we take care of that. So that's going to be somewhere between 680 and 725. but we're going to
Lonnie,
leverage that.
we have a lot of people asking questions in the chat. Sheila
Okay.
Curry asked again. She says, should I get a Dun & Bradstreet number for the business? And you talked about that a second ago, that you don't need to get it. And then she asked, if the LLC is new, are we dealing with the credit history of the personal or business? Can you see the chat?
Credit? Yeah, I'm seeing it. You're dealing with, if the business is new, we're dealing with your personal credit, but everything that we get funded for you is going to be attached to your EIN. So it's not going to be on your personal. So the example is this. If I get you Lonnie Walker credit card, that company is loaning your company that money, not you. So if I get $10,000 on this credit card and I swipe 10,000, which means it's maxed out, that's 100% utilization, it is not going to affect your personal credit card, your personal credit at all. It's all attached to your EIN. Oh, let's see. How can I reach you? I'm reading what's in here. Oh, so if you have an LLC that you created, once you create it, after 3 weeks, you're going to get a Dun & Bradley. You just got to go find it. You don't have to pay anybody to create that for you. I have about 9 LLCs. All I did, I reached out to a company that was going to try to help me. I guess you can say the best way to say it is they were going to track my transactions for my business. And he gave me the Dun & Bradley for all my LLCs. And I didn't create any of them. Let's see. Okay, so your credit score don't have to be perfect. The key is that you don't have any lates, 30, 90, 60 day, no charge offs, no bankruptcies and things like that. As long as you pay things on time, you're going to be fine. But even if you haven't, let's say you have a couple of 60-day lates on there. If you're current on them now, you can get those lates removed. That's what the credit repair side is for. Okay, the business EIN, got it, thanks, okay. Made for a 501c. I don't understand what you're asking on the, how do we find?
Oh, she's asking how do they find? You have to contact Dun & Bradstreet. You can go to their website. If you already have a 501c3 that's already in existence since 2015, you simply go to Dun & Bradstreet, type in that business number or that name. It'll come up. Like when I first got my Dun & Bradstreet for GI Clean, I went there and put in our company information. Like Lonnie is saying, you already have a profile. You just haven't accepted it and updated it. So if you start a business, you have a Dun & Bradstreet, but you want to get it updated. You want to make sure that everything on there is good. We went, I think a few years back, right before COVID, we weren't buying our vehicles under our business names. Now, when we buy vehicles, it's listed under the company's EIN. So as you're developing your business, and this is something that we're going to be talking about because we're almost at our time. I might need to do 2 or 3 of these and bring on different people, but we do have access to attorney Jamila Moore. Lonnie, me and my wife are in a mastermind, and Jamila would be able to answer a lot of those questions and give you the proper legal advice. If you'd like me to put you in contact with her, I can. But when you're structuring your business, you want to make sure that everything is sound and in line. Then you go to Lonnie, and then from Lonnie, you can come back to me and my wife. We're offering coaching. We're offering mentoring. We're starting a mastermind in the new year. And that way we can help people develop and grow their businesses, because nobody did this for us in the past, y'all. People that had businesses were doing it all on their personal credit, and everything was all out of whack. Couldn't get a house, couldn't get the kids into school, couldn't get a college loan because the whole business had inflated your personal credit. And that's why you do not want to do that. What Lonnie is talking about is so very important, because think about it. Steve Jobs, or what's the guy with Bezos, with Amazon, he's not signing his name every time they buy a van for Amazon. He simply has established business credit. They're able to use that business credit. And I'm going to put this on the screen. Let me see if I can add this. He's got what's called business trade lines. The more business trade lines you have, you get away from using your personal credit. I went in and I buy stuff now literally under my business because I play the game the way the big boys are playing it, y'all. And we can do that. It's not anything that you can't do. I buy stuff on Net30, setting up Uline and Quill. And I use companies that report back to Dun & Bradstreet's, and you can go in through through NAV and check your business rating. So this is how we got to start playing the game. I want to bring on, and I want Lonnie to close it out, and then I got a few more moments, and we're going to be done. We went a little bit over on his session, but this is so important. I want him to tell you how you can reach him if you need to talk to him. He's a very relatable person, very down to earth. And y'all know I wouldn't bring anybody on here that's not honest. But if you need funding, he will get you taken care of. So I want him to finish his session. And we got just a few more moments. I want to share a piece with you about marketing, and we are done.
All right. I want to answer a couple questions. So, Curtis, it's not loans. Now, I do have connects to get you loans, but remember, if you get a loan, it's going to have an interest rate attached to it, have to make monthly payments. What I try to get for especially new companies, I want you to have that 0% interest window. So that means I'm going to try to get you something where it's going to be a business line of credit, credit card, something that you can liquidate. So you can have 0 to 12 to 18 months, no interest to get your business up and running and profitable. And then the question about the utilization, getting the utilization moved is so easy and so basic. We could talk about that later. So if it's just a utilization issue, that's really not an issue. We can get that moved all day. My name is Lonnie Walker. I'm going to leave all my information with Mr. Gladney. You can reach me at 832-350-9477. This is what I do. I know that if everything on your credit meets the requirements, I know that what you approve for, it doesn't take most of the things that I do. It only takes a day, and then it'll be a couple of days of follow up with you, and then the process will be done. It's a real clean process. The key is coming to me, letting me know what your credit situation is. I'm going to analyze it, and if you're a good candidate, I'm not going to just have you go through the business funding process if I don't think it's going to work. I don't need the money. I want to make sure that if you come to me, we're going to make sure your credit's good. So when we run the play, you're going to get the money that you need. I don't want to waste your time at all.
Amen. And then I said amen like I'm in church. Yes. Look, we're in the business market now. Right. Sheila Curry has one more question. She said, what's utilization? Utilization, let's say you have a card that's $10,000. That's $10,000. You use all the way up to $8,000. So now your utilization on that card that had a $10,000 balance is now $8,000. You want to keep your utilization below, if I'm not mistaken, 10%, correct? On cards?
It only needs to be below 30.
Below 30
to qualify for what I'm doing. But when I look at it, we're going to figure out what the lower, the better.
Okay, guys, please take down Lonnie's number, write it down, put it in your phone. That's his company number, and reach out to him. I have Cherie Gladney. Lonnie, thank you for being here. Y'all, let's put some air claps in the chat, put some fire in the chat if you enjoyed that information from him. And listen, I think we're going to have to do another one because we've been on an hour already. Delroy actually took about 20 minutes, but it was so needed because y'all, we're so behind in business because we're not doing utilization should be below 30% of max of the max of the line. Yes, exactly. And so I think we're going to schedule another one of these and do another one of these and bring on Jamila and maybe an investment strategist also, because what do you do after you've made the money? How do you protect the bag? You know, it's one thing to get the bag, but then you got to protect the bag. Y'all remember when Donald Trump said, he don't pay taxes? Look, people that make money do not pay taxes, and we got to play the game the way they play. It's all about how you're setting up your LLC, your C Corp, or your S Corp. It shelters your money to a certain extent. She said, Cherie Gladney said, thank you, Lonnie. That was very good.
And that's
Lonnie is a beast.
Look, Donald Trump don't use his own money either.
Nobody in the corporate America uses their own. I'll tell y'all a quick story, and I got to move over to Cherie, and she's going to cover some marketing tips, and we are done. I have a client here in Orlando. I'm not going to say her name, but she's worth $800 million. And so we were starting we were doing a CD or something for my wife. And I told her we ran out of money. And she said, what do you mean you ran out of money? I said, well, we have been using our own. She said, Anthony, you never use your own money to do a project. You never use your own money for business. She said, that's your money. And she made it very clear, that's your money. That's not the business money. That's not money for doing a deal. That's money to take care of your house and your children, your bills. Y'all, we've been doing this all wrong. And this is why in the fourth quarter, we've got to switch some things before 2024. Your personal money is not business money. Your income should be coming out of the business, going to you by way of a W-2 or bonuses or dividends or however you're receiving from the company. But that company is growing in value, and we're expecting at some point to sell that entity and retire. But you want to have that company well funded that you can pass it on in a trust to your children, to your children's children. Do you think Apple is ever going away? It will be passed through the family, and it will always be around. And this is what we've got to do. We've got to build structures on strategies that work. Lonnie, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to have Cherie come on at this time. She's going to be off camera, but she's going to cover some marketing tips, and she's going to talk about CRM and how important it is to have those in place. At this time, I'm going to bring on Cherie. And I'm going to take you out, Lonnie. Cherie, you have the stage at this point. Can you talk about, I'm going to put up the slides for marketing. Just let the people know who you are and some.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. You're live. You're ready to go.
Well, thank you for having me. I just want to thank, Delroy and thank Lonnie. Such great information, very, very valuable information that, we're not always privy to information. So I just wanted to thank them. It was very valuable. I learned something today, and I'll be calling Lonnie myself this week to get my appointment set up. But thank you for having me. Did you have any specific questions for me, Mr. Gladney?
No, I want you to cover. So Cherie and I are business partners. We're also husband and wife. We've been running a company together for over 22 years. But can you explain what it's like working in tandem with your mate? Some of the marketing ideas. Can you explain what you do on a daily basis? Some of the growth ideas and things that you put into the business. And just some tips that you think that might help someone that's listening on today.
Well, the first question was how is it working in business with your mate? It can be challenging because it's very hard to sometimes separate. It's like it all bleeds together. Most people can clock out and leave work and go home, and home and work can be separated. But when you're married to your business partner, many times those two lives intersect, even in time that's usually allotted for home. but it's also a blessing too, because, you know, it's nice being your own boss, right? Everybody likes to kind of create their schedule and have the freedom and flexibility to do things. For me, it's important, and has been important for many years for me to be able to be there for our children, for their different activities. And so just having the freedom and flexibility to not have to ask my boss to take my child to a doctor's appointment, or to be at a piano recital, or a football game where she's, you know, cheering sideline. You know, hey, it's been very very freeing in that aspect. But some of the things that we did, honestly, we started our business. Oh, it's been probably in Florida. It's probably been about 19 years ago now. And when we first moved here, you know, I sat down at the computer literally and created a Word document, a flyer on Word. And you know, I was about, man, I was probably 7.5 months along with our first child. And Anthony and I literally took those flyers, hit the pavement, and we went door to door and in some of Orlando's more affluent neighborhoods. And we started to get clients, and clients began to tell other people. And so literally from those flyers and us hitting the pavement, once we cleaned a few cars for people, the word just kind of spread. So for us, it just kind of grew organically, and we didn't have to do a ton of marketing in the beginning. As things grew and we began to we progressed and grew out of the trunk of our two-door Camry, and we got to the place where we needed to have vans that were mobile units that had the, you know, the water tanks and the electricity and the you know, all the things. Well, at that point, we kind of needed to do some sort of marketing to just kind of keep those vans busy and keep them moving and keep our employees working. So from there, we just kind of the initial thing, and I'm pretty sure, Anthony, you did initially like a Facebook campaign or something like that on social media. Some of the things we do now that Anthony kind of he helps keep up with is it's very important to when you want to be seen on Google, and he can explain more about this, but he updates our Google page with photos. And we always when I'm making an appointment, because part of what I do day to day is you know, make the appointments for people that want our service. And one of the things that I do before I close the call is ask them, I promise them great service, and I ask them for a review. And it's also attached to their invoice as a reminder. But when those reviews come in, and Anthony can speak to this, it has to be updated. And so he takes care of that. He updates photos and latest reviews, and he responds to the reviews that have been left. And that places us higher and makes us more visible to more people. So you could probably speak to that better than what I've said.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So there was quite a few things I wanted to share, and we went over our hour, so we're probably going to end this in a little bit. But one of the tips that we use for our business, and if you're going into a business in the new year, is getting that marketing piece in place. And we use Google. I paid someone to do it first, but now I do it myself. It's really easy to do. And these are all tips and strategies that we can go over with you guys. Because we're over on our time, I know a lot of people are going to be watching this on the playback. There are programs that we're going to be offering actually starting next month and into the new year. We're going to be offering our services by the way of mentorships. My wife and I are both going to Atlanta next week. We're getting certified as coaches. We went through the training earlier this year with I3, Darius Daniels Mastermind, and we've gotten certified as coaches. So if you have a business and you need coaching, I'm going to put our information up because there's so much. I know Sheila had a lot of questions. There's so much that we just can't go over. Our information is on the screen now. If you need to reach us, you can go to gi-clean.com, email us, and just put on there that you were on the masterclass, that you'd like to set up a clarity session. And what we will do, if you need coaching, if you'd like to be a part of our mentorship, if you're a local detailer in Orange County here, or if you're anywhere around the country, we can help you. We have done for you, we have done with you, and done by you programs. And then in January, we're looking to start our mastermind. This is where we will be on with you twice a month. And listen, what you're getting right now, we can barely scratch the surface, but I mean, we go over mindset, skill set, toolkit. We help you sharpen and hone your skills in the business that you're already in. A lot of things that we've learned in the last 2 years about growing and structuring businesses, having access to people like Lonnie and Delroy, attorney Jamila Moore, Paul Jervey for investing. We're fully loaded and ready to help whoever needs to be helped. So please take the phone number, call on Monday morning. Let us know that you are on the webinar. And if you're seeing this later, it could be months from now. Call right now, and you can send an email, and we will get you set up for a consultation and get you in process and working with us. And if you need to reach Lonnie, if you didn't get his information, I'm going to put that up, and I'm going to have him just say one more thing, and we are done. Listen, I appreciate you guys. There was so much more that I want to talk about, but I want to be faithful to the time of 11 to 12. And next time, I think I'll just have to do a couple of hours and do it that way so we have more time. But if you have any other questions before we finish, anybody have any other questions before we finish? If you need to reach out to us, please do so by our website. If you need coaching, consulting, you want to be a part of our mentorship, you say, hey, listen, there are two kinds of people, or three kinds of people. There's the people that's going to hear all this information and not do anything with it. It's the person that's going to hear this information and they'll say, yeah, I'll do it, but I'll do it by myself. And then there's the third person that says, man, I hear you talking, and success loves speed. You've already bumped your head, been there and done that. And so I need a coach. I need some help. And if that's you on today and you're hearing this, a coach will get you there faster. Listen, how do football teams win? How do basketball teams win? They win because they have a coach. They succeed because they have a coach. They succeed because they use people that's been there and done that. Listen, thank you guys for being here today. I'm so excited about what the future holds for your businesses because you've taken time out on a Saturday. Listen, I know that the best is yet to come. I'm going to play our promo one more time, and we are done.
Worth individuals, celebrities, all types of cars. We've done.
Let me run that back from the beginning.
Hey, my name is Anthony from GI Clean. I'm the president of the company. And guess what, guys? We have a mentorship that we want to introduce to you right here in beautiful Orlando, Florida. We want to help you grow. We want to help you scale. We want to help you see year over year increase. Listen, don't bump your head trying to figure it out. We've been in the industry for 22 years. We've done high worth individuals, celebrities, all types of cars. We've done fleet. We've done country clubs, boats, RVs. Listen, if you want to get there, we can help you get there. We have done for you, done with you, and done by you programs to help you get to where you need to be to see year over year growth. Success loves speed, and I want to help you speed up your career in the detailing business or whatever business you choose to go into. Hit the link in the box, and we will see you soon.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for being here. Please reach out to us. If you need mentoring, if you need coaching, If you think you want to be a part of our mastermind in the new year, listen, in our mastermind, we're going to be showing you how to set your business up from the ground floor. We'll be walking you through step by step. And if your business just needs an overhaul, you say, hey, I just need to make sure everything is right. Everything is copyrighted. Everything is trademarked. Everything is the way it needs to be so I can get funding. Reach out. Take that number down. Go to our website in the contacts. Send us an email. I respond to everything. I check everything. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, anywhere, and stay in touch, and we will get you taken care of. Thank you for being here on today. Have a great day.